Hello and welcome to another edition of Disgruntled Danny After Dark. Today is Thanksgiving, so if you're watching in the New World, happy that. As a Brit, I know very little about Thanksgiving, and the only reason I know that Thanksgiving is today is because the company I work for employs an American woman in the office who brings in donuts and wishes everyone a happy Thanksgiving. For which I'm grateful, but I don't know what to do after that. Am I meant to buy a Ford Mustang or go out and shoot a Mexican? Because as a Brit, my knowledge of Thanksgiving consists of a few episodes of Modern Family and the classic comedy Trains, Planes and Automobiles. It began as a day of giving thanks for the blessings of the harvest and of the preceding year. Although Thanksgiving has historical roots in religious and cultural traditions, it has long been celebrated as a secular holiday. Thanks, Wikipedia. Okay, so I don't know anything about Thanksgiving, other than it's got something to do with pilgrims. Later on we'll touch on the Founding Fathers, God bless America. But I'm using it as a segue to a later part of this video, because the history of the USA is about to be completely rewritten. It isn't, I'm just being dramatic for the sake of it. But Christopher Columbus, and I know he's got nothing to do with Thanksgiving, but again it's just vaguely American, he's widely credited as the man who discovered America. The odd thing is that Christopher Columbus never set foot in what is now the United States of America. He was confidently wandering around South America, proclaiming he was in India, China and even Japan. Yet most people now agree the chances are the Vikings got to the USA first. That being said, the people who discovered America were probably the Native Americans. They knew about it for fucking centuries before anyone else got there. Yet when it comes to the Vikings, let me put it this way. When Apollo 11 launched its mission to the moon, as the Eagle was touching down on the lunar surface with Aldrin and Armstrong, most people wouldn't have been surprised if there'd been a Viking longboat on the lunar surface. So who really discovered America? Take a look at this clip and prepare to have your mind blown. Or not, as it'll transpire.
This might shock you, but after Muslims discovered the Americas, many of the Cherokee indigenous people accepted Islam. In 2004, Harvard graduate and U.S. Ambassador Dr. Crane, who came from a long line of Muslim Cherokees, published a story about this part of his family's history in the American Muslim magazine. Dr. Crane said that many Cherokees practiced Islam for centuries before Columbus entered the Americas. They called out public adans, prayed 5 times a day, and the women wore a hijab. Their community was disrupted by European colonizers who viewed the Muslim Cherokee natives as a threat. The U.S. government even abolished the religious practices of Cherokees in 1905, imprisoning anyone caught praying Salah in public. Many Cherokees were forced to hide their beliefs to survive, even until about 50 years ago. Unfortunately, more than 100 million natives have been wiped off the planet once the Spaniards arrived in the Americas, because they declared the natives their enemy. Until date, this is one of the biggest acts of cruelty against humanity that has ever taken place, and these practices continue to take place today. And it's up to us to share their story. Tap the like button and share this if you agree.
Oh, so Muslims discovered America and converted the Cherokee Indians. I'm from a generation where I was raised on John Wayne films. So these Native Americans prayed 5 times a day and their women wore hijabs, centuries before the arrivals of the pale-skinned white devils. But Harvard graduate Dr. Crane published a story. Now that choice of wording is very telling. A news story, we will assume, is fact. A story could be, and in this case is, fictional, because the entire thing is absolute bollocks. There is no record of Muslims getting to America before Christopher Columbus. There is no record of Cherokee Native Americans converting to Islam. Even the whole 1905 thing where the evil white devils forced the Indians, to change their religion, that never happened. Native Americans were encouraged to assimilate with white Americans. There was no forcefulness going on. The whole story is absolute bullshit. Because let's be blunt, there is no historical record of any Native American having a fucking minaret tower on the top of his wigwam. You see, that story puts me in mind of the people who claim that Africa invented everything. There are Africans who say they invented the motor car, the helicopter, they harnessed electricity and mastered space travel. Do these people not know that Wakanda isn't real? Because given that in parts of sub-Saharan Africa they haven't yet mastered running fucking water, I doubt they invented all the technology within the world. No, what actually happened again with Muslims is they did not have the technology to cross the Atlantic. They had Barbary pirates abducting white Europeans and selling them into slavery. Anyway, thanks to Google AI for clearing that up. So now let's look at a modern American woman talking about the Founding Fathers. Surely, on Thanksgiving, she'll be overwhelmingly patriotic. Or patriotic if you're from the USA.
Alright, here's my hot take of today. I don't think that a society governed by a document that was written in the 1700s by a bunch of drunk white guys in their 20s who couldn't even conceive of the existence of the majority of the United States of America should be used to this day, and I don't think that we are going to have a successful society until we get rid of the thing and restart. Because the Founding Fathers could not have conceived of my existence. They just could not have. They couldn't conceive of it. Their brains would have exploded. So how could that document possibly serve me? How could it? We need a new one. We need to restart. We need to start over. This one's trash. We need to revamp it and get a new one.
She seems a very balanced young woman and not at all bitter or mildly psychotic. And I'm assuming she's talking about the American Constitution. As a Brit, I don't really have a fucking clue. Does it need ripping up and starting again? Or should it be seen as of its time and able to adapt? Because, as I mentioned yesterday, most Bills of Rights, constitutions and such like around the world are based on Magna Carta, which is from here in the UK from the year 1215, and that fucking document still does fine. She just seems to be overly upset about things that happened hundreds of years before she was born. So let's see another argument from someone more based and rational.
When the Founding Fathers made this great country, I'm going to stop you right there. The Founding Fathers owned slaves. The Founding Fathers had less access to education than a modern-day 12-year-old. They don't know anything. I don't care what they wanted. I don't care what they think. It's unconstitutional. I should hope so. The Constitution was written by people who didn't think women should vote. The Constitution was written by people who had 15-year-old wives dying in childbirth frequently. The Constitution was written by people who had little cartoon Elmer Fudd shotguns, not automatic war machines capable of ripping down 100 children in a minute, and have, and will again. The whole point is to change. The whole point is to progressively make better decisions so we do not repeat the atrocities of our ancestors. If I was born at any other time in American history, I would have been burned at the stake or lobotomized. And we think the people doing that are the ones who know what should be going on today. We don't want to listen to the people who cured tuberculosis or decided, hey, maybe we shouldn't put lead in house paint. You are actively repeating the atrocities of your ancestors. You're doing it on purpose. I don't care about the Founding Fathers.
Okay, so once again, a little bit worked up and animated. And yes, she talks about the Founding Fathers not thinking that women had the right to vote. And of course, that's outdated and arcane. However, when it comes to her, no, she should not have the right to vote. She needs, let's be blunt, looking after by some men, women and they-thems in white fucking coats. Now, to my American friends, what is this young lady on about? She's talking about curing TB and removing lead from paint. Surely that's a good thing, and unless I'm tremendously wrong, they aren't being reintroduced. In the USA, TB isn't having a resurgence and they aren't putting lead back in paint. Essentially, she's talking about progress and somehow making it about the past. I'm struggling to find the words here because she's fucking crackers. And no, that isn't a slur against her race. So we've got people objecting to and trying to rewrite American history. Thankfully, here in the UK, the same thing could never happen.
Did you know that the American state of New York was named in honor of a black king? King James II ruled England, Ireland, and Scotland from 1685 to 1688. He also served as Duke of York. This allowed his brother King Charles II, nicknamed the Black Boy, to grant him that territory, which was formerly a colony of the Dutch, which they named New Amsterdam. Once England gained access to that region, they renamed it New York in honor of King James II. King James II had a son, Prince James III of Wales, who was described having a light brown complexion. He was supposed to be heir apparent to the throne, but that was nullified due to the Glorious Revolution. Now this is how they've shamelessly whitewashed his image.
Where to start? King Charles II wasn't black. The only non-white member of the monarchy in history is Meghan Markle, and look how well that worked out. America wasn't discovered by Muslims, and Britain has never had a black king. That isn't racism or white supremacy, it's a fucking fact. King Charles II had the nickname the Black Boy given to him by his mother. The reason he was called the Black Boy was because he had a dark, swarthy complexion coming from the Italian side of his family. Note, Italy, not Nigeria. He was a Stuart, and most of the Stuarts had pale skin, pale hair and blue eyes. He didn't. Again, he was part Italian. That's why in the UK there are many pubs called the Black Boy. That has nothing to do with white supremacy, no matter how much the woke left want it to. But since George Floyd died in 2020, and I say died because part of me thinks the fentanyl overdose was probably what killed him, British history has been attempted to be rewritten. There's one street in the UK which was called Black Boy Lane, and the woke left lost their fucking minds and the council complied. Despite 81% of the residents on a mainly Afro-Caribbean street saying the name didn't offend them, it was renamed La Rose Lane. So to my friends watching in the United States, I wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. For everyone else watching, I hope we can all agree to stop letting woke dickheads trying to rewrite history to suit their fucking narrative. Anyway, it's very, very dark, and that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, and the video quality is fucking terrible, please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you could leave a like, a comment, or share the video, that helps the algorithm. If you would like to support me in making these videos, there's a link in the description to buy me a coffee, and as ever, thanks for watching. So, I've got my script. It's going to be a fucker to read it. Hang on. Hey! Found my torch. There are some people who say that King Henry VIII was black. Why? His daughter, Elizabeth I, was ginger. How does that, genetically, how the merry fuck would that work? How would a black guy have a ginger daughter? Again, Harry and Meghan, I'm looking at you. The light on my selfie stick has just died. I now look like I'm doing a fucking Halloween. Oh, I don't know. Shut the fuck up then.